The chief with University Police say that they thought maybe he was just firing those shots into the air possibly, but you can see that is the exact location right in front of the fountain, which is directly in front of the tower where those shots may have been or were fired earlier this morning. That is the location before the gunman was chased into the library. Now we want to just give you that timeline once again of what happened out here this morning. 8:10 is when those shots were fired there in front of the fountain. At 8:25 the sirens went off and began to alert students that they needed to stay inside, and we were hearing those sirens go off for about every 5 to 10 minutes for quite a few hours this morning, and we are no longer hearing those sirens anymore. The school went into lockdown at 8:30. At 8:50 the gunman shot himself, and then at 11:40 this morning the students were given the all clear, and we saw hundreds of students milling around campus, all headed basically not in this direction. They were not allowed obviously to walk near the PCL. A lot of students walking along MLK. We saw a lot of them walking near the quad right by the tower. But at this time, really, you can tell the campus has cleared out because very, very few students are in the area simply because classes are canceled for the day. So a lot of people are obviously headed back home or headed off maybe somewhere on Guadalupe. But as far as this area is concerned, considerably has cleared out from earlier this morning. And as you heard the police chief mention, they are going to be keeping this area around the PCL sealed off for quite some time while they conduct this investigation. As you can see, crime scene investigators still out here and will be out here for a while.
All right, Kate, thank you so much. As the chief mentioned, there were students inside their classrooms for hours waiting for the all clear from the UT Police Department, and they finally got that around noon today as SWAT officers went building to building with their SWAT gear, in full SWAT gear, evacuating those classrooms, making sure there was not a second suspect, and we know now that there was not a second gunman. There was only one lone shooter. No shots fired by law enforcement as you had those students walking out of the buildings with their hands up in the air. And our Chris Sadeghi is following that part of the story for us.
Yes, Sally, we just heard Art Acevedo talking about those gunshots and then kind of the reaction of the students here on campus. We were a few hours ago over there in the area of Welch Hall, which is right there near the PCL. Students there were kept in there on lockdown and then told to come out. As they were coming out, they were told to keep their hands up. Now that we know a little bit more about exactly where the shooting happened, we're here on 21st in Guadalupe, so we're about a block away from the Littlefield Fountain, which is where Chief Art Acevedo said the first shots rang out. A barber shop here on the drag said that the shots were loud enough that they could hear them. They had their door open, enjoying the nice weather, and they said right around 8:10 they heard those shots ring out. Now, not only that, but if you come out here live again, you can see Dobie, the Dobie Mall behind me, and this dorm. You got a pretty good vantage point up there, and it is right across the street from that Littlefield Fountain. We talked to a student who has a corner suite who had a clear view of everything, and he described what the gunshots sounded like when they rang out.
They were very loud shots, and I would say about 7 shots, and it sounded like they were in very rapid succession, probably coming from a semi-automatic weapon.
So we heard the chief say at least 4 rounds. That student there said he heard closer in the range of 7. He also said he then went to his window, took a look outside, and he could see students running, and it wasn't an I'm late for class type running. They were running to get away from something. He said he knew right away, right then, something was wrong, and knew for sure something was wrong when the SWAT vehicles rolled up just a short time later. Sally and Chris, back to you.
Wow, what a day. What sound from him, too. Boy, listening and witnessing that. Chris Sadeghi live for us. Thank you for that, Chris. We want to show you some of the pictures that have come in today and show you what some of the students were dealing with that were in class, having a normal day, and then ended their day today on campus, being let out with their hands in the air, and armed SWAT team members with bulletproof vests and AK-47s following.
And a credit to the students, too. The police officers, police chiefs during that press conference were saying, look, it's the students who helped make sure that this shooter did not kill anybody else but himself, because they led police to where this guy was going. They chased him from 21st Street, police did, into the library, and police officers looking at the students saying this guy ran upstairs. They run upstairs after him, finally get him on the 6th floor where the shooter takes his own life.
And you can see just what they were dealing with as for the next 3 hours, sometimes 3.5 hours, some of the students that were talking to us live on their cell phones here on the air had to sit. That's that shot that we were talking about, looking straight down as well. And a lot of these students had to sit in their classes, told they were locked down, couldn't go anywhere, as these officers came in, SWAT teams, and swept the location looking for what could be a second suspect. We also heard Acevedo talk about possible explosives that may have been left behind. They were trying to cover all their bases. So look at that. That's just a day in class for some of the folks. I think that was at the Red McCombs School of Business there.
We want to reiterate that. The president of UT is saying his campus is safe.
Yep.
Mayor Lee Leffingwell saying Austin is safe. The gunman is dead. And the thing about this is that they believe the gunman was indeed a student, but they're looking to get the final say-so from the medical examiner here in Travis County. Let's go over to Katinia McHenry for a wrap of everything that's been going on since 8 o'clock this morning. Katinia.
Yes, to Austin Police, Travis County, all reacted appropriately and did an outstanding
Okay, Katinia has been at the spot where that news conference was held earlier this morning. And again, when they released some of these students at about noon, maybe a little bit before noon, behind Katinia, we saw just, literally hundreds of students walking out and out on the sidewalks after they had given the all clear and said they were going to intensify their search and their investigation to right around the library there, and the rest of it was given the all clear, so the students just literally poured out of those classrooms.
There's the rundown again, the timeline of the events as it all unfolded. It started, as we mentioned, 8:10. Shots were fired. We now know the shots were fired on 21st Street. Police officers got there within minutes, sirens and alerts. Police officers say they chased that guy into the library, Perry Castaneda Library. The school was on lockdown at 8:30. The students pointed officers in the direction of the shooter up to the 6th floor, and that's where the shooter took his own life. Not a single gunshot, they believe, fired from law enforcement officers.
And that happened at 8:50. We heard Chief Acevedo say that as their officers arrived after reports of gunfire, literally within minutes, just blocks away, he said students played a big role in helping the chain of events that led up to that area about 9 o'clock. Listen. All right, we have Chief Acevedo and how he was talking about the students and their role. We'll get to that sound in just a second. Again, though, we wanted to tell you this. Counseling services from Robert Dahlstrom. He's the chief of the University of Texas Police Department, saying counseling services are available. You can call 471-2255 for any students that were involved in this, may have seen something happen in the library or anything else, held for hours in their classrooms. You can also go to the Student Services building to receive that counseling that's available for students. But again, tomorrow they expect it to be another normal day at UT.
That's right. The campus is closed for the rest of the day, but UT president saying that campus is safe. Also saying classes will resume as normal tomorrow morning. They
also talked about, and it was interesting to hear Dahlstrom and Acevedo both talk about, you know what, just 2 weeks ago, we held this joint department training session to talk about exactly this kind of thing and to go through steps and set out guidelines when chains of events like this happen. And sure enough, it did happen today, and they both said, and all of them basically said, Travis County and DPS and University of Texas and APD all working together, and they were proud of the police work and attributed a lot of the success to the recent training with UT and APD just less than 2 weeks ago.
That's right. And just to reiterate, they're saying that the gunman, they believe he is a student at UT, but they're waiting from the final word from the medical examiner's office. Katinia was inside the press conference as they were giving out that information. Katinia just ran outside. What else can you tell us?
Sally, good afternoon. With the press conference.